The search industry has changed dramatically over the past couple of years, especially with Google consistently rolling out major changes. And as a result, the world of SEO has been transformed. Social media has also had an obvious impact on the space since the two areas are overlapping more and more. The convergence has become so evident that some are even speculating about the possibility of a Facebook search engine, which would really shake up search as we know it. And although there is only talk of it at this point, the likelihood of a social search engine is actually quite high. Facebook has been very quiet about any potential efforts, but Google is continuing to push social into search with its Google Plus offering. So to help us understand what all of this means and what we could expect in the near future, we're going to bring in Grant Simmons of the search agency. It's great to have you today, Grant.
Hey, good morning. Thanks, Abby.
Good morning. It's great to have you again. Well, let's start off by just talking about Google and what it has been doing. It is, of course, the dominant player and has made several changes over the past couple of months with both Panda updates and the introduction of Penguin. So what can you tell us about these developments and really how they have impacted the industry?
So basically, what we've seen in the past is Google has distinct guidelines around SEO or webmaster best practices, and really the recent updates are really reinforcing that. I think the key point here is, overall they're trying to push better content. They're trying to push clean standpoint from linking, trying to get rid of black hat, grey hat type techniques, and really both Panda and Penguin have been around those, quality and natural linking.
Well, in May, Google also launched its Knowledge Graph, which is designed to give users things, as it calls them, instead of strings of links. So what do you think that this product brings to the table?
I think the big thing is Google's trying to really make more of an encyclopedia type results. So traditionally it's always been about those strings of links and really click through to the result. And what they're trying to do now is probably get people to be a little bit more sticky and to realize more value on Google by doing the people, places, and things type connections. So, when you're searching for Einstein, you'll see some of his inventions or some of his sayings. And this is really key when they're trying to surface search results a little bit quicker to show more value to users. I think what it does in the short term is really surface those people, places, and things. And what it probably does in the long term is allow them to surface other results like, show times or elements like that they already featured to some degree on the right-hand route. But I think they can probably push more things beyond those people, places, and things, such as connections or interests that I might have, and showing them in the first results before you actually have to click.
What's interesting, though, is this knowledge graph is somewhat similar to DuckDuckGo's zero-click info feature that essentially provides just instant answers to search queries. So given DuckDuckGo's extreme growth in recent months, do you think that Google is beginning to feel threatened and rolled out the knowledge graph as a response to this?
So I think earlier in the year, the search agency we basically said Google's very worried right now, which is why they're doing a lot of Me Too announcements in a lot of areas. I don't think they're as worried about DuckDuckGo. I think their growth was mainly driven by early adopters. And we've seen the last couple of months it really flatten out that kind of growth. But I think Google's trying to differentiate itself by copying. They've done that historically, whereby someone will come out with a distinct feature and they'll announce it, even though it's not fully baked. And I think that the knowledge graph is certainly to address some of that. But I think also it's more likely to them looking forwards to how they can get Google to be more sticky and also more competitive. And like I said, we've been talking about Google being really worried about alternative search engines for the last probably 9 months. And it's really coming to fruition now with their roll-in of other search and social elements as well.
Right, I want to get to that in just a minute, but I also want to ask you about Yahoo and its recent launch of Yahoo Access, which it was an effort to redefine search and web browsing. And there's also been talk that it will abandon its search alliance with Microsoft a little early. So how do you see Yahoo's future in search really playing out? And will it be a role?
Well, I think the first thing is, with all due respect to people that work for Yahoo, it's really Yahoo who right now. They haven't been a major player for a while, even given the integration with some of the Bing results. Right. I think Access is really an app play more than anything else, and it sees the popularity and success of things like Flipboard, where there's a consolidation of results in a way that's more visual than just a list of links. I really don't see a massive future for Yahoo. And please, all my Yahoo friends, excuse me for that. But overall, I think they're going to be a player in some ways, but maybe it's more around the content play they've been building out as opposed to just purely search results.
Well, now getting into the social side of search, do you think that Google is trying too hard with its push of Google Plus into search results, or is its approach for connecting the two working?
Well, I think if you ask most people in the industry, it's not really working. It's not cohesive yet. I think it's certainly a very important play for Google. It's something that they see as the future. I think, once again, with the alternative search engines, whether it's social search or whether it's media search or whether it's just mobile search, I think that Google is a little bit concerned and tying in their 500 million users into search results certainly does make sense. Tying in places to Google Plus local pages makes sense. It's just whether users will get a little bit, how can you say, a little bit overcome by Google products always being pushed, or whether it's going to be something they adopt because it's useful to them.
I see. Well, what about the idea of Facebook developing a search engine? Do you see this happening, or do you think that it's already in the works?
Well, I think Facebook is already a search engine, just not a very traditional one and not very good. If I'm looking for people that I'm connected with or pages, that I've liked, I can certainly find those pretty easy using the search box. I think one of the key things is Facebook has to get into some kind of search, leveraging the data they have, and they're already working on it, I'm sure. And as part of their push to their investors now, I think they have to come up with something that either detracts from Google, which is different from competing with Google, does go head-to-head with Google, which will be a long slog, I believe.
In a post from the search agency's Jessica Lee, she brought up the very good point that Facebook can't compete with Google's more than 8.6 billion index pages. So what type of product could you see them building?
So I think that's a key point, is that Google has built out a major crawl component to what they do. And Facebook probably doesn't want to compete and probably can't compete, although they obviously have the horsepower, the data centers and stuff. I think that what they do have is that they have their like system, which is pretty standardly adopted across the web, Open Graph, pretty standardly adopted across the web. And they do actually get real key information from that. And recently they introduced kind of the action buttons or action attributes to buttons. So what they do have is they have a crawl or a connection between lots of pages that have likes on them. They have within Facebook an understanding of what you do like from a page standpoint, what your connections are, what you talk about within Facebook. And I think that leveraging that data, they can get a pretty good understanding of what you're looking for, what you like, what might connect with you on a more relevant basis. I think from that standpoint, they have a lot of data they can use in search. So that will probably be the key, a different kind of curation than traditional Google search.
Understood. Well, where does Facebook's partnership with Bing fit into this picture, and how impactful is this for Google?
So I think there's something that's really key in the recent Bing launch of kind of your social friends on the right-hand rail as well, around asking them or being able to interact. It makes Bing more social. I think that relationship will continue because both parties are getting something pretty significant out of that. Facebook is getting visibility within Bing, which is still 20-30% of the results mostly, or searches. And I think that Bing gets something out of it because it's a differentiation. And obviously it's something that is to address Google Plus and that integration into Google results. So I think that both parties probably continue with that, at least in the short term, which in internet years could be 1 year or 5 years. But I think it's definitely something that both parties are winning on, so they're probably going to continue.
What about Twitter? Do you see it entering this whole social search engine game?
I think the challenge with Twitter is probably just around business model more than anything else. And I think that from a search standpoint, they already have pretty robust search themselves, and they have a lot of, I guess, robust search possibilities and actualities through third parties. So I think that's going to continue with their open data. Really that is a big unknown. I don't think they can compete with the big search engines, but we talk about the search agency search anywhere optimization or search everywhere optimization as the new SEO. And it really is about where people are searching and where they're searching for niche type stuff. So in Twitter, it's generally news-based. So I could see them doing some kind of news-based search. But other than that, I'm not sure there's a big opportunity for them from a business model standpoint.
So at this point, the idea of a social search engine is sort of inevitable. But how do you think that users would react? And would they respond better to one company's offering over another's?
Well, I think that ties back to what I was just saying. This search everywhere optimization is really around where people are searching based on that niche interest. Pinterest obviously has surfaced this year as a big player around media search. You look for photos there as opposed to Google Images. That's kind of a key element there. But if you look across the social aspect of that, it's really about where your friends are and how you can connect with them, or people that are like-minded, or at least along the same interests. So I think the single search venue as the solution to social search probably won't happen. It's going to be more about these connections, affiliations, associations that make sense to me as an individual, as opposed to just a personalized search engine like Google.
So what would the emergence of a social search engine or social search engines mean for SEOs in particular?
Well, I'll keep tying this back to search everywhere optimization means, for each client, there's going to be a different need, a different niche, and a different opportunity connecting with audiences. And I think the key part here is really understanding your audience. We look at audience from a persona basis. Who are they? What are they looking for? Where do they hang out? What is the key attributes that make them connect with a brand? And I think that's when we look at social search. It's about your own social graph as well as connecting social graphs together. So you have a larger sphere of interest that's basically satisfied that intent you have. And plus, it's a bigger opportunity for search engines to connect with you around not just your initial interests, but other interests. So social search engines is probably the way to go. And from a standpoint of SEO, it's about making sure you're in the right place with the right message, the right content is obviously the big play, and make sure the brands understand the different opportunities around the different venues and really approach audiences in different ways, different facets.
All right, well, we look forward to seeing how this all comes together. Thank you so much for talking with us today, Grant. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Abby. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And for all the latest search and social news, stay tuned right here to WebPro News. I'm Abby Johnson with this report.